Hello, folks. Thank you for joining me for this second part of this segment today. I was talking about words that you should say in a marriage, words you shouldn't be included with your partner in a marriage, and I was also talking about the types of support, affirmation, affirming your relationship after years of being married. And in affirming your relationship, I was talking about types of support that you should show, signs that somebody needs to be affirmed. And I was sharing some of my life stories. And I shared one of the situations, and I called them, these were flagship incidences because they were important. They had an important impact on the way I felt at that time. And the first one I talked about was my wife not calling me. I could be away 4 days out of the week and never hearing from my wife if I didn't call her. And that definitely didn't affirm a relationship. And second situation there, second incident was church. Not wanting to be a partner, not wanting to be a couple at the church during Bible study courses or classes. The adult class had adults go in there as couples, even though they have children, they're not young anymore. And my wife just would rather sit alone in the library as opposed to coming with me to the adult class. And I liked the adult class because I wanted to keep learning, and sharing, that fellowship. I needed fellowship. So I want to go into there's two more areas in my life that I want to reflect upon. And one of them involves my oldest daughter. She graduated from Baylor University. And we were considering a study abroad. She was in the Japanese club, spoke wonderful Japanese, and was interested in going to Tokyo for a year. And so we considered the study abroad program. And I was as excited as I could be because I want her to do things, of course, that you never did. And so being involved in a university, you have scholarship, you have teaching scholarship and grantmanship, grants. And so first thing in my mind is, let's find you a grant. Let's fund it. Let's find you some kind of grant, and so that it would pay for everything. It would pay for more than what your school's going to pay. And so the first thing I did was I found a really good, strong grant for studying in Tokyo. And first thing I did was I learned if you talk to the director of the sponsored programs at a university, you get a better feel for what the history of the grant, the types of awards, who they award to, what should be in the content, what are they looking for? What is a winning grant? What does it look like? So I went in to Baylor and I talked to the director of sponsored programs as a father, saying, this is what I want to do for my daughter, and what I want your opinion, your suggestions. And his suggestion was, we've never done this before. This university has never been granted a grant from this program before. The students here just don't meet this criteria. And I walked out being very determined, saying, well, we'll see. And so, of course, I completed the grant and it met all the requirements, all the supporting documents, and it flew. It was totally awarded, which is great, and my daughter had some highlight mentions at the university for being the first student to get awarded that grant. And of course, when students get awarded a grant, you're required to submit a letter of acceptance, appreciating the award, and also noting your mission, your intentions, your goals. And in that letter that I read, there was a total acknowledgement for the director of the Japanese department for my daughter to get that opportunity. And nowhere in that letter did it mention her dad, her father, I wrote the grant. So at that time, of course, I wasn't going to say anything, but it was a really piercing knife in my heart, and that showed me, I don't know. Okay, that's just the way it is. Again, I was accepting, but the way things were looking, but it still hurt because the director of the Japanese department had nothing whatsoever to do with that grant. Uh, so So support, yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't find it, and it was heartbreaking. And so my younger daughter graduated from A&M, the university at A&M agriculture degree, and the agriculture program has a small reception before graduation. So I'm coming in from one city, driving after the week of work, stop at a gas station so I can change clothes and look good, look professional. My wife and daughters come in after picking up grandparents. They all come in. I've been there for a while. They all come in after me, and two very important things happen. After being there and after introducing myself to everybody, the faculty who are in this small little meeting room where they're going to have a luncheon before the big ceremony. My daughter introduces Grandpa to the chairman of the department, someone I've already introduced myself with. I'm standing behind my daughter, and my daughter doesn't attempt to introduce her dad at all. We're talking to a colleague in higher education. I was an associate professor at that time. We'd already had exchanged, notes and things, but my daughter didn't feel it important enough to introduce me to the chairman, but did introduce her grandpa. And I'm trying to overlook this at the time, but it was difficult. Again, it's time to be seated. My daughter arranges all the chairs, tells everybody where to sit, tells mom where to sit, grandma, grandpa where to sit, and Ronnie is left standing. And Ronnie doesn't have a chair. Was that meant to be? However, Dad was expected to pay for dinner for all of her college friends that evening, and he did. And I did get a hug that evening, but it was a statement, wasn't it? Was a statement. It said, "You're not important." Okay. Do you belong here? Maybe, but you're not that important. So, excuse me, a note. Okay. So these are just very important signs that I had to process in my head, and perhaps, someday I'll get their perspective of it. This is my perspective, and I needed to focus on this, and, I don't know, maybe one day I will focus on my role. I'm still processing this. What happened? How did I contribute to this? How could I have prevented this? And it has to do with time. And I've said this before, where you spend your time matters. I spent my time working away from home. Then I spent my time working on rentals, properties, lake houses, while my wife was homeschooling, Girl Scout leader, and was bonding, and I wasn't. So folks, I hope you find meaning in this. To summarize things, it's important. The words you say are important. I love you is important. I'm sorry is important. I'm here for you. You do matter to me. That's important. Things not to say, as you're overreacting, you're exaggerating, you're being a drama queen. Come on, this is stupid. You don't say those things. You open up, okay? You have to, and how do you affirm things? It's time to affirm things, especially after 10 years, 20 years, How do you affirm things? You just check in. Just check in. You don't even have to say much. You check in. How's it going? Where are you? And so it's time to check in. Is your marriage just an investment? It's okay if it's an investment, but is it just an investment, or is it centered around love or caring, and especially God, because I don't think ours was, what is keeping the family unit together, or is it keeping together, or is it tearing apart? What are the signs that show that your family unit isn't what it should be? Who's the critical element, the critical influence in directing? Who's the rudder of your family? Who's directing it one way and who's directing it the other way? Or is this a balance between husband and wife? Is it normalized? Okay. Do both of you have, are both of you acknowledged by everybody in the family? No. Who's keeping the family strong, or is it worth keeping strong in your mind? No. Is there a hidden agenda that part of the family has agreed to keep that some part doesn't know about? In the long run, you have to face the truth, right? In the long run, you have to keep that respect, and you have to treat people like a human being. If you don't want to keep treating them like a dad or a mom, just treat them with respect as another human being. And that's important, and be truthful. It means you're willing to share your flaws with someone when you're being truthful and open. It means you want to show them your needs. You show them your brokenness if you have that, to someone that you said, at one time you said, I love you, this person. You said, you said you loved them, don't forget your kids learn from this, and someday your kids may draw their strength from what they saw and what they recorded in their brain, in their mind, in the time of their need, so, if you've done the right thing, do the right thing, and in agreement with your partner, to pursue what's best for both of you. Maybe as a couple, maybe not as a couple, but you're doing the right thing for the best interest of both of you, in a loving way, in a caring way, from the heart. It doesn't have to mean you're in love with that person. It doesn't have to have passion, but if just seek the best for both of you. Okay. Also, I want to say, the next generation in years to come, and I'm talking about grandkids, mainly grandkids, they're going to learn about you. They're going to learn about your life through one venue or the other, through a discussion at the dinner table. Somebody's going to ask your grandpa or grandma or your daughter, who's your dad? Who's your real dad? Who's your mom? Who's your real mom? What happened here? What happened there? Stories, stories are told. And families are full of storytellers, and that's how we learn from each other. So just be mindful that people learn from your mistakes. People will hear about your mistakes. People will hear about your goodness. People will hear about the flaws, So just keep that in mind. Do your best. Seek wisdom. Seek prayer. Keep the faith. And I want to thank you mostly for being here with me again today. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful week, and I'm signing off. Bye-bye.